Hello and welcome to Take a Peek. Here we are today to open the box and take a peek at Infinity Wars. So, I'm just going to jump right into a game and I'll start explaining what it is. You can see there you have the ability to make a ton of decks, and a lot of these I was able to just flat out start with. We're going to go with my second deck, because why not? So Infinity Wars is a simultaneous turn-based strategy game. That sounds a little weird. What does that even mean? Well, that means that you can see up here this little green box around, this is my icon. This is the opponent's icon. You can see the green box around mine means that my turn is done. However, Xanthrax is still taking his turn. And it looks like he's doing the Sleepers starter deck. So, people play at the exact same time and it plays out. Whoever has the green name is the person with the initiative. I am not getting anything. Wow. There we go. A little late for that. I'll go with the golem. Anyways, yes, they play at the exact same time, and whatever happens, happens. You have to plan your turn while your opponent is planning their turn. And it's quite possibly one of the most difficult and most strategic ways to go about playing a game. There are 7, 6, 8. There are a lot of different types of cards out there. You're only seeing 2 right here: the Sleepers of Avarok and the Flame Dawns, which is what I am playing. I'm not going to get too much into what the individual cards do or what they mean, but do note that this game is still an early beta and it actually has quite a lot that you are capable of doing. Ooh, there comes out a fear. That's unfortunate for me. Okay. That's fine. Support zone. Yeah, not yet. Call that good. So, when you're playing simultaneous turns, you have to figure out what exactly your opponent is doing, and that requires going through a lot of metagame. You have 2 minutes for each turn, and he's already ready to go. Now, I assume he's going to predict that I'm going to attack, so he's going to block with his Infectious Zombie, possibly his Endless Hordes, or his Risen of Avarok, but one of them is going to go into the Assault Zone in order to fight my Golem. The battlefield is split into defense and assault. Defense protects your fortress, which is your health, and assault zone, you spend morale when your cards get destroyed in order to attack your opponent's fortress, their health, and when you destroy their cards, their morale goes down too. If either your morale or your health hits 0, it's game over. Each turn you get 1 resource. You start with 1 and your max is 10. Unless you have special cards like the Wealthy Noble, which increases your resource max by 1 per. And of course the end result is to get your opponent down to 0. Like I mentioned earlier, the lose condition for yourself is obviously the win condition for your opponent. This game is very complicated just in how the cards work and how many cards there are. It's hard to... Ouch. Okay, that was a mean card. It's hard to just put it down and say that this is exactly how the game works. The game's still being figured out. There's a good metagame right now that people are working with. But for the most part, There is no one deck, no one strategy that will win the game. Now, the game does work on microtransactions. That turns a lot of people off right away. I can tell you for certain, this is not a pay-to-win game. You can spend money and get a good advantage, but you will not win the game simply by... actually, we'll change that. Hang on. Hang on. Simply by putting money into the game, you will not win the game. Harbinger of Light, you. Firebolt. No. I'll do it like that. Okay. Tithe Collector. So you can see we are taking turns at the exact same time, and it really just comes down to who is going to outthink the other person. It's kind of like chess, but it's not. Okay, that didn't work out at all. Ouch. Alright, let's assassinate you. Wealthy Noble. Wait, who did I assassinate? Hang on, hang on. Start over. Assassinate. Stumble. My mind is getting jumbled. Firebolt. You. And call that a turn. So you can see the card count up here. I have 1 card left in my hand. At the beginning of this turn, Xanthrax had 3 cards in his hand. We'll see how many he plays. One of many exhumed. He played 1. No big deal. So I believe I just won this. Pretty sure I just won this. Yeah. So I did exactly 16, and he hit 0 health. My morale was getting low, but I didn't quite die off there. So there's a lot more to talk about this game. This is just what a standard battle looks like. So there you go. Quests are in this game. You can complete quests, and they will give you cards. They'll give you experience. For winning a game, you will get 500 experience and 150 IP, assuming your opponent did not concede. And IP is the currency of the game. So, I feel sorry for Xanthrax that I had to beat him, but, you know, it's the way the game works. Alright, so, because I got 2,000 experience, I've earned 2,000, that's just 4 wins. I get new cards. So let's go ahead and claim the reward by completing the quest. We'll load up the card, and so we get 1 card for this quest. The Flamed On Commando. When Flamed On Commando comes into play, target character is dealt 2 damage. So, excuse me. So, this is the resource cost of the card. As you saw at the top, I mentioned you get 1 resource per turn up to 10. It'll cost 1 to play this guy, and when he dies, he takes away 2 from your morale. Does 2 morale damage when he dies. He requires 1 purity from Flamed On. And this is his effects. Sometimes there's a character description up here with a little bit of backstory. He has 4 attack and 2 health. And is part of the Ascension set. There's the Ascension set, the Infection set, and the original set. That is... Let's see if I can go and find one of the original cards. That'd be this guy, Flamed On Aspirant. The IW 2013 set are your 3 sets. So this is where you make decks. It's pretty straightforward. I have 757 cards, which sounds like a lot, but it's really not that much. 3, 4, 6, there are 8 factions. 8 factions you can choose from. The neutral faction, the... I'm forgetting everything right now. The Warpath faction, the Genesis Industries faction. I swear I know this stuff. The Varor faction, Flamed On, Descendants of the Dragon, Sleepers of Avarok, and exiles. Now, I do not have all the cards. In fact, I have very few cards and not that many rare cards. But it's your standard card rarity from common to legendary. I can show you a legendary right here with the Martyr Golem. It's soulbound with that lock, which means I can't trade it with anyone. Kind of sad, but it is a legendary card and it's actually very powerful. So for example, I can pay 2 resources to heal 4 damage from the Martyr Golem. And you want to do this because the Martyr Golem absorbs all damage on the battlefield that would be dealt to your characters. So it takes hits in place of your characters, which means if you have, if you look back, you saw I had the Harbinger of Light, had 8 attack power but only 1 health left. If you go back and look at that, I could put her in the very front if I have Martyr Golem out, and Martyr Golem will take the damage while she is dealing damage back to the opponent. It's actually a very effective card, does a very good job. Building decks is pretty easy. There are, well, a little glitched out there. There are so many ways you can build a deck. A morale crushing deck that attacks the person's morale while holding up your own defenses. So Varroa and Descendants of the Dragon are really good at that. With something, for example, Ling Bao, the Sage of Discipline. If you pay 2 and he can't do anything else this turn, that is Exhaust. When an opponent loses morale, they lose 4 extra morale. Or his Will, the exact same thing, 4 extra morale. It's also costs 2, a separate ability spell card. You know, cards like that thrown into a deck that it crushes your opponent's morale, it actually ends up being a very effective way to win, and all you have to do is hit their morale, not their health. You don't even necessarily have to destroy your opponent's creatures with cards like the Glorious Warrior. If it's in the combat zone, an opponent loses 4 morales. So an attack or defense zone, and they lose 4 morale. You can also do just whatever you want. I mean, you have the Mechanical Flame deck is something that I made as well, which is just combining Genesis Industries and their ability with the Secluded Constructor to buff other cards by sacrificing cards to them, and put that onto a very fast and powerful deck like the Flame Dawn. You're required to have 40 cards. Having obviously more than 50 is a little bit of a problem. Some decks are more balanced than others, but if you have a hard time building decks, there are a ton of pre-constructed decks, all of which I have modified and I can't show you any of. But there are a ton of pre-constructed decks that actually do a really good job. There's also, we're going to go look at the profile. You can see your win ratio, and I thought somewhere it showed losses. They might have changed that. You have different medals as well as titles you can get to go along with your name. Your level and your experience. There are a ton of quests. If you look at campaign, for example, you can see there are quite a few campaign quests alone, and these give you a whole bunch of different cards. You know, there you go. There's some cards right there, and that's just from doing the Cult of Aurora campaign and completing that. Or if I want to do the Genesis Industries campaign, I do 5 missions from that, and I get a small little blister pack. The game hands you cards, and there are still more things that I have to do. Not all the quests are currently working, but they are patching it up as fast as they can. You can battle AI if you never want to play PvP. There are plenty of bots you can play against, and some of them can pose a decent challenge sometimes. Depending on your skill level, they might pose no challenge at all. You get quests every week, so you already saw that I did Experience the Best, and I've played 15 games. There's also the 2 Pure for You, which is 3 games with triple purity. So what I just played there with the Flame Dawn deck, which was my second deck, was all Flame Dawn. There were only Flame Dawn cards, except for the factionless cards like the Martyr Golem or the Defense Golem. because there were only flamed on cards, there were 3 flamed on commanders on the battlefield, you get, it's a triple purity deck. Again, going back to the deck, if I look at this one, these are the commanders. So the ones that were sitting on the battlefield to the left were the commanders that were next to the support zone, behind the defense and attack zone. There's also this cool little thing in the game that's become very popular within card games as of late. You have, of course, the player versus AI, the Academy. If you guys want to see what the Academy is, I already did an extensive playthrough on how to do all the Academy missions and show you guys how to beat all of them, as well as the entire campaign, which you see I have 100% complete. There's also a video on in my page about doing the campaign, a whole playlist for that. And these are the bots. Puffy the Goldfish just plays a... what is it? Puffy the Goldfish plays nothing. He's just something to test your deck on, see how you like it. And then these are actual bots that you can play against, as well as selecting your deck down here. The constructed play, which we just saw, I was just doing normal play. There's also ranked play. You can see my rating is 99. Your rating starts at 0, and you go up from there. So the more games you win, the more games you play, the higher your ranking is. So you can see I have not played that many games, so my rating is not that high. But these people who are in the 1900s, 1800s, they've all played quite a few games of ranked Infinity Wars, so their score is obviously going to be much higher than mine. You also can check your friends. And you can see Lethal Frag has some up here, and most other people have, well, no one else has played ranking amongst my friends, and that's fine. If global chat, trade chat, system chat, all standard, and draft as well, which they call Rift in this game, is just a Rift run. There's a leaderboard that resets every Monday at 11:59 p.m. Infinity Wars time, which you can see right there. It's 11:02 p.m. Infinity Wars time. Five, 6. So they are GMT -1. I think they're at GMT -1. If that helps you guys figure out your time zone. You can practice doing a Rift run, and it's pretty straightforward. You just grab some cards that show up and build up your deck however you want to. It builds up your 3 commanders plus 40 cards, and that's all you get. So there you just chose your commanders. That determines your purity, and the purity will tell you what kind of cards you get back. So what you can choose to build in your deck. It'll give you how many characters you have, the abilities you have, and other. I'll see if I can find an artifact for you which falls into other. The artifacts in this game can be very, very powerful. So Demoralize is another great card to attack morale specifically. When you're doing a Rift run, you definitely want to have some idea in mind as you're building a deck for what you want to do with your deck. So you see, okay, so this is an 11 resource card. Now I already told you the maximum resource you can get is 10 unless you get cards like the Wealthy Noble that I selected down here. This guy would have to be in play, and it'd have to be at the very max resources before I could play the Subjugated Dragon. But as you can see, it's an epic rare card with 22 power, 22 strength. Very powerful card. I kind of wish that I was actually doing this for real, because this is a actually nice setup. It could be. It doesn't necessarily will be. Where is an artifact? I want an artifact. Getting a lot of characters, most of them being human. Some of them are undead. That's an insectoid. but yeah, Death Ray. I'm not really seeing any artifacts, so you can always abandon your run. If you're doing it for real, you lose your IP. It costs 1,000 infinity points or 50 Lightmare points. Lightmare points are actually pretty cheap to get. Oh, not that. This is all in US dollars, but I mean, it's $1, $1 US dollar for 125. So for $1, you can do 2 Rift runs. The more games you win, the more IP you get, so the more games you can play in the future. So if you win actually only 4 games, get 1 draw, you will get enough IP back to play another Rift run right after that, with 4 wins and a draw. You lose 3 games, you're out. It's pretty straightforward. The game offers quite a few aesthetics features as well. So you can buy cards here with either infinity points or with Lightmare points. The collection starter pack is Lightmare only, but it comes with nothing that you can't get otherwise. I mean, I've seen most of these cards myself in my own collection. The Omni Collector pack is probably my favorite, but it's illegal for a reason. Comes with Ra, Navi, and Doug, which are really cool cards, very powerful cards, but they are not tournament legal, which makes sense. And you can see, obviously, the Infestation Booster Pack, Core 2013, which I believe, yeah, it's the IW 2013 set. You can just get 15 random cards, or the Rise set. You can also buy pre-made decks, plenty of them. Sometimes some of them go on sale, so you always want to check the store to see if you can pick up whatever's on sale. There are plenty of avatars you can buy with infinity points, or if you want Cittern, you can spend Lightmare points. Different card backs, different types of battlefields. You saw the basic battlefields, what I play on. I've seen plenty of people play with Supply Depot or Red Refinery. If there's anything that's going to come out in the near future, you can find it in pre-orders. Infestation had this. You could get a bunch of silver-backed cards with pre-orders. And your inventory, whatever you pick up, a lot of this will be just free cards that the game gives you. I happen to get 100% IP XP boost. I'm not going to use it, but I happen to pick that up somewhere for some reason. They gave it to me, which is really cool. There's also the tire help section. Explains the game in more detail with the rulebook. I recommend doing the Academy. It really helps you figure out how to play the game and gets you used to it. They have a website and a forum you can always talk on. If someone's being really annoying in the chat, and Teramis is not in the chat, he's a moderator, community person. If he's not in the chat to moderate it, you can just report the player and it works. There is also in-game chat, so don't worry about that. So that's essentially what Infinity War is. I pretty much covered most of the entire game. If we go back to constructed, there are 2 different game types, 3 different speeds, and 4 different types, 4 different formats you can play. So, if you want to see different types of stuff, be my guest. Merged is personally my favorite. Merged Epic is quite a lot of fun. I typically try to avoid tournament because when I do Merged Epic, I like to do the illegal merge deck, which uses the 12 illegal cards. So, anyways guys, that is essentially what Infinity Wars is. If you have any questions, leave them in comments below. I'll try to answer them. But do look at my videos if you're confused about what Infinity Wars is, or if you're stuck on something, you want some help. I put out quite a few help videos, I believe like 16 help videos about Infinity Wars in 2 separate playlists. One for the campaign, one for the Academy, where I explain what the game is, how it works in much greater detail, and help you guys figure out how to play this game. So go check those videos out. As always, thanks for watching, and I will see you with another Take a Peek episode. This has been Infinity Wars.